Oh, yeah. Yeah, they haven't been to any of these, have they? Oh, this. Now I pushed
Now
it.
you're on.
Yeah,
Is it on?
I had it.
Now it is. Oh, yep, they can hear me. They looked. So,
Yep.
Okay.
The mayor
I guess just
but
to
he
be
said
fair to everybody.
30 seconds, the yellow will go. Oh, I guess I didn't even bring my phone.
Oh, yeah.
Brian, I'm Heidi. I'm the operations manager. Thank you so much for helping us. Situation handled. I think so. They got it all. He worked out. Get ahead of the rest. So it's all done. It's all moved for now anyway. So thank you. Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, we have quite a bit at the office, but the rest of it is over under the fairground, under the bleacher area, under the grandstand. Yes. So. Well, weren't we all? We were all still younger. Oh. Nice to meet you.
See what happens. I thought it was going to explode. I was getting ready to run. Sorry. If I was you, I'd be sitting you on mine, and all of a sudden I saw it was all I thought it was mine.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the Vision Fund Citizen Committee public hearing. This is the first of 4 hearings that we will have over the next 2 days. This afternoon, we're going to hear from 6 projects proposed for access to the Vision funds, and we will start in just a moment. But to begin with, I'd like to have the committee members just introduce themselves real quickly, starting over there on my left with Al.
Al Rodriguez.
Kim Morshing.
Jim Har.
Marta Olson Rangich.
Kevin Crosby.
And I'm Kevin Maher.
Beth Keeney.
Bill Spindle.
I'm Christine Stephenson.
I'm Jim Keck.
Jennifer Rice.
Okay, we also have City Finance Director Pauline Sumption has joined us. Okay, so we're going to get started in just a moment. Like I said, this is the first hearing. I want to welcome everybody here. The Vision Committee, we've been having working sessions since late August. We have visited 21 projects. The original ask for the Vision funds, the total cost of all of these projects that were submitted is $95 million. The ask of the Vision Fund is $62 million, and we have $24 million to recommend to the City Council. We will be making that recommendation in early December, and the City Council will make the decisions. So with that, we're going to go ahead and start, and I want to welcome Habitat for Humanity. Will be our first presentation.
Good afternoon. My name's Tom Haggerty, and I'm the Vice President of Black Hills Area Habitat for Humanity, and just want to thank you for this opportunity to present this exciting idea. We couldn't be more excited about the concept, the project we have in front of us. So with that, I'll let Scott Eggman. I do want to mention too that another bunch of the board members from Habitat for Humanity are here with us. Scott Harriman and Clint Jolly and Tammy Morin. And thanks for this opportunity. Scott?
Thanks, Tom. Well, good afternoon. As Tom said, Scott Eggman, Executive Director of Black Hills Habitat. And I've been working with Habitat for 15 years. And it's been a pleasure to be able to serve a lot of people in our community with the affordable housing options that Habitat provides. On the screen here, you see a couple different families. The family to the right, Val Big Eagle, has achieved her PhD since moving into her home and is a Bush Fellow and works with the Rapid City Public School System and is a great model. So we serve smaller families, larger families, but the key is what we do is affordable. And we do it all throughout the Black Hills region, but about 80 to 90% of our homes are right here in the Rapid City market. Most people know Habitat from our single-family homes that we build and our duplexes. What you're seeing on the screen here is the Garfield development, which was our first foray into real estate development. We bought the whole city block, and as you can see, we built 8 new homes that are all Habitat affordable homes. And we sold the school building to Glenn Barber and Associates, who constructed 12 amazing lofts that are rented out at market rate. So what we came out with, in the end, really is a mixed income project of rental and ownership in a core Rapid City neighborhood. And we loved how it turned out. We felt like it was a great bang for our buck. It was a great bang for the city's contribution through the CDBG dollars that allowed us to build the alleyway in between the structures, as you can see, and bringing in the infrastructure that was necessary for it. But what it's done is it's really gotten us thinking about, how do we do more of that kind of scalable housing? And I think you'd have to have your head in the sand to not see the housing crisis that our nation is in, and certainly our region is experiencing a very crucial aspect of this, with many more people moving to the area. Last check I did on the MLS, I think there were 30 homes for sale in all of the Black Hills under $330,000. So that just kind of tells the story of the lack of supply that we have right now in our community. On the affordability side, for the people that we like to serve, they're really folks that are earning below 70% of area median income, but we realize that there's a need for housing that goes way above that, up really into all the levels at this point. So the question becomes, what can Habitat do? What can we do in partnership with you and with members of our community to meet this critical need that we have? And I spent the morning at the Housing Summit that the Community Foundation put on, and Chief Hedrick had an amazing comment talking about his experience with the substandard housing in our community. But he also made a really interesting point and said, we want to hire the best people we can to join the force, but we have nowhere for them to be housed right now. Our entry-level police officers at $43,000, $45,000 a year cannot afford to buy in our community. And I think that's a problem for us and for the next generation, so we have to really get ahead of this. And what Habitat's done as a result of our contemplation and our work studying the market and seeing what we've done and what's worked well, is we've gone ahead and identified what we think is a fantastic site, which many of you visited with us. Thank you so much for coming out to see it. But that little blue dot, as you can see in the middle, represents the site at Creek Drive in East St. Charles. And what I like about the site is it's infill. It's rather central to the city and how things are developing. We have Star of the West just to the east of the site, and we have the bike path just to the north across East St. Charles. So it's a wonderful site for public access. There's great amenities in the area, and we've gone ahead and actually purchased this land. We closed on it last week, so we are committed. This train has left the station. And I think, as we all discussed, we're looking at a project of approximately 50 townhome condominiums, and we're looking at more of a vertical look to the units where cars can be parked underneath. We're really focusing on getting a lot more per square foot than we typically would. So we can't control our material cost, but we can control our land cost. Through a project like this, we can actually bring our costs down per lot from $40,000 to $50,000 for a typical single-family home to about $10,000 per lot. So that math really works to help make a project like this affordable. And I've asked Brian Vulcan from Forefront Design to come and just speak to some of the fine points of the concept that you've got in front of you. So Brian?
Is it all right if I speak here? Can you all hear me? Oh. Yeah, that's fine. I can speak to this. Well, first of all, Scott asked us to get involved in this project, and we jumped at it. We were pretty excited because one of the things we do at Forefront Design is we try and get involved in projects that matter. This is an important project. Housing is I think, our number one issue in the community. So it's something that we wanted to get involved in. And we like this project because it's not a one-and-done deal. It's an investment that whoever contributes to it, it's going to result in more than what we have now, and it's going to continue to generate more housing throughout the community. So we really like it from that perspective. Thanks, Pauline. Appreciate it. So I'm just going to speak a little bit about some of our ideas. Many of you have seen the site. It's a rectangular site. We've laid it out so that we have a couple entrances into the site, plenty of parking, using that vertical expansion, if you would. We can get the density a little bit higher, get more units on the site, bring the cost down. Well, we want to create a real neighborhood atmosphere. So some of the things that we've done is we want to create this center area that has a real community feel to it. With, I mentioned, a lot of parking. We want to have very sustainable facilities, and we're kicking around a lot of different ideas. Probably some geothermal, some photovoltaic, solar, maybe some solar to preheat water, different things to make these houses very, very efficient. So the people that, once they buy them, they can continue to afford to operate them. We've got some other images. I think if you flip this slide, you can just see some of the style that we're talking about. These are going to be very nice homes, but with good design, you can make very nice facilities and keep the cost down. And that's what we're trying to do. And if we can bring this sort of attractive, sustainable community neighborhood environment to this development, we think it'll generate a lot of interest. Scott's going to talk about the economics of some of the market price condos that they want to use or they want to sell to keep generating more capital to go on. I'm just going to leave this up here, and if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, but this should give you a flavor of what we're trying to achieve out on this particular site. Any questions from anybody? Jim, you look like you're going to say something. No? Okay. Scott?
Thank you, Brian. So really what the project entails is it's what I refer to as a scalable housing solution. So, rather than us building 1 or 2 houses at a time, we're talking about 50 townhome condominiums. 3/4 of the project we're targeting toward workforce housing. And by workforce, I mean people that are earning between 70% of area median income up to 120%, which would be South Dakota Housing's kind of upper limit. That upper limit looks like $76,000 to $86,000 a year for up to 120%. We get into the affordable side with Habitat. We're actually looking at the 30,000 to the 70%. That represents only 1/4 of the project. So we're talking about a very mixed income, amenity-rich development, and something that's core infill with infrastructure already in place around it. You can see the timeline in front of you. This winter period we're in the heavy design period now. Bid process in February, March, and we hope to start in the spring working with a commercial contractor that has the scale and capacity. Real quick, I know my time is up here. Give me 30 seconds. The Vision Fund request at 3.1, we're going to match 3-to-1 with other wonderful funding sources that we have been working with. We believe that we can leverage those dollars and they become part of our Fund for Humanity, our housing fund that actually, as we collect mortgage payments on the Habitat units, we will then move those funds into future homes that we will build. So it is a perpetual housing fund opportunity through Habitat on those housing units that we sell through Habitat. But overall, this is a fantastic way for this committee to meet arguably the most critical community need we have right now. You can leverage your dollars. You can take advantage of infill infrastructure that's already there. And you can do it with an organization that's proven to do what we say we're going to do for over 30 years. So I wish you well in your deliberations, and I'd love to take any questions you've got.
Okay, so now we'll have 5 minutes for the committee can ask questions. And I guess, Scott, I'll start with a question. So in the proposal shows total cost about $12.5 million, and divided by 50, that's $250,000 is going to be what's going to cost each unit. So is that, I know it's too early to tell, but is that going to be too expensive for entry-level homeowners?
Yeah, I think, the South Dakota Housing's first-time home buyer goes up to 300, so I think we're well within that, Kevin. Of course, on the Habitat side, we're seeing our homes now pushing up to 215 to 220 already with what materials have been costing. So, can we do better? We hope, but we didn't want to overpromise on the front end on that. I think that the hard bids that come back from our contractors is really going to give us the detailed numbers for that.
Okay. Committee, have any questions? Chair recognizes Jim Keck.
The question I have is you build these houses, how do you keep the price from going up if the owner wants to turn around and sell it?
Sure. Yeah, they're gonna. It's a great question. How do you keep them affordable? And we have covenants that run with our projects so that the homes have an appreciation limitation put on them, and then they have to be sold to people that earn under that income range that we've preset. So on the market units, it would be up to 120% of area median income. On the Habitat units, up to 70% of area median income. So when it comes time to sell, the buyers would have to qualify with that. It's a really good question. I think it's one of those things that some projects I've seen that are affordable on the front end quickly become unaffordable as they're resold, and ours won't do that.
So what is the allowable increase per year in the value of the house?
We have a specific formula that we've set up for that. I can't outline it for you specifically right now, but I can certainly send it to you, and you'll have that, because every person we sell to has to sign up for that. And really, that's something we've had in the works, but in the last year, it's become so obvious that if you don't have that, anything that's quote unquote affordable isn't going to be affordable. So glad you're asking that.
Any other questions by the committee? Chair recognizes Bill Spindle.
So Scott, are you needing the money the first year, second year? How do you, are you wanting it all in 1 year's time, or what?
Yeah, I think the easy answer, of course, would be the more capital we can raise at the front end, the better the project's going to go. I have a strong conviction that a lot of the market rate units that we do, the first-time homebuyer units, are going to pre-sell. And, our schedule has phase 2, so the second half of the program, rolling out in 2022 into 2023. But if the pre-sales are going strong, we would just want to, keep our foot on the gas pedal and keep going. So having that capital on the front end would really help.
Okay, any more questions? Oh, the chair recognizes Christine Stephenson.
Thank you. So to go back to the covenants, I know I already asked you this, but to be clear, people in the workforce housing, there would be a covenant against renting, turning it into
Correct.
a rental.
Yep.
Or into an Airbnb use and short-term
Correct.
rental.
It's just for homeowners. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then is there any difference in the look or the style of the Habitat ones and the workforce housing ones?
Great question, and the answer is no. We don't want to have any difference that way. We want them all to be blended together, and the Habitat units will be mixed in the development, so it won't be one end of the project is Habitat and the other isn't. It'll all be mixed together. So driving through, you won't be able to tell which ones are Habitat and which ones aren't.
Okay, and then so the average cost of the unit is $200,000.
Yeah, it's hard without those hard bids in hand, but I think that 2 to 250 is where we're anticipating the pricing to come in.
And so if we wanted to, because our funds are stretched, if we wanted to fund the Habitat portion of this, the 25%, would it be accurate to say 200,000 times 15, 3 million? Well, I suppose that's the that's what you asked for, but
right. Yeah. On the front end, we're really looking at more of a $4 million lift simply because of the acquisition and then all the infrastructure and the amenities. And if you take some time to look at the illustration we've given you, there is a sport court there because we think, the kids that are there and adults are going to want to be physically active. There's the paths going through and, a fire pit and things which, we want to have those kind of amenities so it's a very attractive, desirable place to live, but that's going to cost extra money. Things we're not used to spending money on with Habitat, but we feel with this configuration it's pretty important. So that is going to bring the price up.
Last question. How much was it for the land? What did you pay for that?
$430? I believe it was $430.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, we have time for one more question. Excuse me, one more question, and the chair recognizes Al Rodriguez.
Thank you. So who's going to take care of the maintenance of the public areas?
Great question, Al. We're going to have a homeowners association, which will be, represented by the homeowners there, and Habitat will have to take a lead, of course, in supporting it, getting it stood up. But part of the reason we're looking for that mixed income opportunity as well is we feel that having a wide variety of people with different professions and backgrounds is going to really help strengthen that HOA so that it's something that really takes on a life of its own and there's mutual accountability in the project. We'll have to outsource landscaping, snow removal and those kinds of things through the HOA. So we feel that's really going to help maintain a beautiful development.
So Habitat for Humanity is going to be part of the HOA?
At the early stage to get it stood up, and then as they get sold and the HOA takes on its own identity, we'll be slowly backing out. And we've never developed an HOA like this, so I'm speaking in my best projection of how I think it's going to work. But we aren't going to set it up and just walk away from it. But I feel that with strong homeowners in there, they're going to want to maintain a great community.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Scott.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it.
We're going to be moving on now to the Black Hills Farmers Market.
Good afternoon. I'm Barb Cromwell, and this is Melissa Stanfill, and we are pleased to represent the Black Hills Farmers Market and Rapid City Parks and Recreation in this request for funding for a market pavilion in Market Park. We have an amazing farmers market here in Rapid City, offering a wide variety of fresh, healthy, local foods and a number of locally made artisan products as well. We provide a marketplace for dozens of small businesses to be established and thrive. Money spent at our farmers market supports these businesses as well as rippling throughout the local Black Hills economy. We are especially proud of some of our programs that are designed to bring these fresh local foods to more members of our community. On a recent Saturday afternoon, a friendly older man stopped by my booth at the market. He was visiting our farmers market for the very first time, and he asked me about how to use his SNAP benefits at our market. So I told him about our token system where we could exchange it for tokens so that he could shop throughout our market. We also have a Double Up Food Bucks program that allows us to double those SNAP benefits to allow customers to be able to afford more fresh produce. This year, we're also working with several community organizations to pilot a produce prescription program. As of that Saturday, we had a few vouchers still available, so I was able to give him an additional $20 voucher to spend at our market. So for $10 in this man's SNAP benefits, he received $40 in tokens to shop with at our farmer's market. He quietly said, almost to himself, "This will make a real difference." And his eyes welled up with tears. And it's thanks to the generosity of our market sponsors and some grants that we're able to have these programs. We brought with us today an example over there of food that might be purchased for $10 in SNAP benefits at a local grocery store. You could get, a pot pie and a bag of chips and a few pieces of fruit. And then we brought with us also an example of what that same $10 in SNAP benefits stretched through these programs to $40 to shop with at our market might buy. So you could pick up a pound of ham slices and a loaf of bread, lettuce and tomatoes, everything for delicious ham sandwiches, along with some pickles and a lot of other fresh produce as well. Imagine how much better that food tastes and how much more nutritious that food is. Now imagine how different that man's experience would have been if he had arrived at our market just 20 minutes later when the clouds opened up and the rain poured down on all of us and the thunder crashed over our heads. Likely he would have passed on stopping by our farmer's market at all. That same day, we held a photography fundraiser at our market. We captured some great photos of people enjoying fall at the farmer's market, but it rained on and off throughout the morning, and it greatly reduced the number of customers at our market, as well as the number of people who were able to participate in our fundraiser. Today is the second time in a week that we've had to cancel our market due to inclement weather. So you can see that this market pavilion, if funded, will make a tremendous difference in our farmers market for the vendors, the customers, and the whole community. It'll provide shelter from rainstorms so that our customers and vendors can continue to do business. And it'll provide shelter from the cold, snow, or hail. It'll mean that we'll be able to hold our market consistently throughout the winter months, and customers with mobility concerns will be able to shop with greater safety. This market pavilion will provide an educational space where we can host our local musicians, educational activities, or chef events. It'll provide our park with proper restroom facilities and hand washing availability, as well as storage options for equipment and increased security for things like our ATM machine.
This market pavilion will allow the Black Hills Farmers Market to safely store food with refrigeration and freezer capacity, allowing us to be logistically flexible and meeting the needs of our wholesale customers. For example, Western South Dakota Community Action, who we have a longstanding relationship with, is unavailable on the weekends. If we had the flexibility to hold that food over from the weekend to the week, we would be able to expand the access of local foods to Western South Dakota. Here's a picture of Western South Dakota stuff. This is our first year for the Black Hills Farmers Market wholesale market. And we have been able to sell and distribute local produce, eggs, honey, baked goods, canned goods, and meat to grocery stores, schools, restaurants, nonprofit organizations, and others, from Spearfish to Hot Springs and even into Nebraska. With the Market Pavilion, we will be able to expand and improve our wholesale market even more. Every year in July, the Black Hills Farmers Market holds Kids Month. This year, we distributed 350 $2 tokens to the youth of Rapid City for them to spend at our market. Seeing the excitement on each child's face as they were able to shop with their tokens in the market reinforces the power the farmers market has in developing lifelong relationships between our community and local foods and our producers. Building local food traditions into the Rapid City food culture will ensure that as our youth grow and have families of their own one day, local foods will continue to be a part of their lives. This market pavilion will house a thriving farmers market, one that strengthens our economy, creates jobs, improves health, strengthens relationships within our community, and enhances food security. The Market Pavilion will help the Black Hills Farmers Market make Rapid City more resilient to nationwide shortages and shipping and distribution issues by fostering our local supply chain. You can see here a drawing of what our pavilion, might look like. We plan to build it in Market Park, which is along Rapid Creek. The edges of Market Park have some floodplain, but we have brought with us today a map of Market Park showing where the edges of the floodplain are, and it shows that the field where we will build this pavilion is not in the flood hazard zone and would be approved for building in. We're planning for a structure that will be an all-weather building with indoor space for the farmers market during cold or inclement weather and for the wholesale market to operate year-round. It'll have restroom facilities, storage space, space for safe food handling, and refrigeration for safe food storage. The other half of the pavilion will be an open-air park shelter, and this will be the space that will allow for events and activities, a shaded spot for people to gather, and shelter from rain or hail during the summer months. We are planning for a building that is durable and low maintenance and attractive with features that will fit well in a Rapid City park along the railroad tracks. A market pavilion will add to the character and quality of life of Rapid City. With our location in the park right on Highway 44 at the entrance to Rapid City from the airport, an eye-catching pavilion will add to the positive view of Rapid City to welcome visitors and residents alike. Our Black Hills Farmers Market has been a vital part of feeding our community for more than 30 years. We provide opportunities for small businesses to incubate and to thrive. And we are always collaborating with Rapid City organizations and working to expand options for people in our community to have access to nutritious, healthy food. So Vision funding for a market pavilion is an investment in the health of Rapid City's people, its businesses, and its economy. In the near future, a stormy Saturday in October will be a perfect time to stop by the farmers market to pick up a few ingredients for dinner. You can drive over to Market Park and shop inside a lovely, warm, and dry pavilion. Maybe pick up a chicken, carrots, onions, everything you need for your family's favorite chicken and vegetable soup recipe, along with some bread and maybe cookies or ice cream for dessert. You might bump into friends while you were there, or discover a new squash with advice from the grower for how to prepare it. Perhaps that week your children might find some fresh, healthy vegetables in their school lunch, or your parents might have some delivered to them in their Meals on Wheels. With funding for this market pavilion, these experiences will become more common throughout Rapid City. Thanks for your consideration. We'll answer any questions.
Any committee have questions? Chair recognizes Christine Stephenson.
Hi, Barb. Nice to see you. I apologize for not making the tour earlier, so I might have some questions that you've already answered for the rest of the committee, but I'll try and go fast. So you have 44 vendors right now, and this pavilion would allow for all 44 to be covered?
It would not.
Okay,
no.
how many?
Our plan is to continue to have, many of our vendors be outside in the park as they are now.
During the winter months, we have fewer vendor participation because it's not the prime growing season. Although we do have a wide variety of produce for quite a while through the winter. But yeah, it will house approximately a dozen inside, and then also in the open air side.
A dozen total. So, each, okay. And then do you have any count of how many customers you get on an average Saturday in the summer?
I do a head count at 10 o'clock and 1 o'clock each day. And those two head counts would be, 250 plus people just at those moments in time. So it's easily, I would say, 1,000 people, on a Saturday in August or September.
And then do you have a cost estimate of just an open air shelter, or have you done any like downsizing if we couldn't do the full funding of the project?
We have not planned for that. We really feel like we have planned for a very simple and practical design, but one that would meet our needs, for a long time into the future. But it really is, all parts we feel like are pretty necessary.
Okay.
In the benefit of the market.
And then my final question, we were told that the parking situation at the farmers market is a little bit of a handshake agreement. Is that correct to say, or is there a more formal, are you sure that you'll have parking for the next 20 years?
We do believe that. The parking lot is owned by the state of South Dakota as part of the railroad, and it is currently leased to Rapid Spa, and the City Parks and Rec Department is working with the state and with Rapid Spa, to further documentation of that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, the chair recognizes Jim Keck.
I got a question on other farmers market facilities around the area, the state, the country. What's your perspective on that?
The city of Sioux Falls has built an open-air park shelter for their farmers market. Other farmers markets, are you familiar with very many?
I guess I could speak to a few that I've been to around the country. Some of them are in sheds, like just large pole barns, essentially. Many of them are outside, but have separate restroom facilities. There's also some, like say in Milwaukee, their farmers market is gorgeous. They took their old Union Station and built, it's very beautiful. So I think throughout the country, they range from tents in a field to gorgeous buildings. I think we kind of tried to meet somewhere in the middle that was functional and beautiful and fit with the kind of, people are going to be seeing us as they're coming into the city. We're right next to the railroad tracks, kind of tying that in and keeping with the outdoor feel of a farmer's market, kind of marrying that all together was kind of our goal.
So you're seeing an overall increase in the use of a farmer's market in our area over the years?
Yes, our farmers market is growing, and we are working with Western Dakota Tech has a really interesting agriculture program that they are developing, and so we're talking with them to tap in to start to build that next generation of farmers to continue to grow our farmers market, because the demand for fresh, healthy, local foods is very high.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Chair recognizes Kim Marshing.
Will you need a fence around your facility for security?
We have not planned for a fence. It would be, similar to other park shelters within Rapid City as far as security needs. We just plan to build it in a way that is, durable as the other public park facilities are.
Okay.
Okay. The chair recognizes Al Rodriguez.
One follow-up to her on the security. So you showed pictures of broken ATM and broken porta potty. So without the fence, how are you going to control that? Without the fence or a lock gate, you're going to just have everything in the closed
Correct.
portion of it?
Everything that would require security, we would plan to have on the, the indoor side of the market pavilion, so that it would have, strong security locks to close up during off-market hours.
So the bathrooms are inside the closed area?
We're planning for those inside, yes.
There's also an office space that would house the ATM. Office used loosely, it's very small. But yeah, it would house the ATM. That way it was behind steel doors instead of being in a shed.
One more question. So during winter, are you just planning to use the closed one or the open air shelter also?
We would use both as weather permitted. We would be primarily indoors. But we have found that for some of our, say, meat producers, it's more convenient for them to come with their trailers, and that's kind of its own enclosed space for people to shop in. So it could easily be a combination.
So in winter, you're talking about 12 vendors, that's it?
Yes.
Unless they chose to be in the open air space, which they could choose to do,
Because
depending on the weather.
Depends on the weather, yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah.
If it's a severe weather, 12 vendors will be inside the building.
Yes.
Correct.
And then the storage is going to be inside the building.
Yes.
Cold storage and everything. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to move on to the next proposal.
Thank you.
We'd like to welcome the Black Hills Mountain Bike Association.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lucas Hahn, and I'm here with the Black Hills Mountain Bike Association, and we're a local nonprofit organization, and our mission is to promote mountain biking in the Black Hills area. So I've developed here a short presentation that kind of dovetails to our on-site tour that we had a couple weeks ago, and tried to highlight some of the questions or maybe further items that we should have explored. You can kind of see what we're doing here. So anyway, so bike park, what is a bike park? I think that's the biggest question. And so while in short, it's a park designed for bicyclists specifically, but it's for all ages and all abilities, and it features many different types of elements. And for this particular proposal, the elements that we're going to be talking about are a pump track, skills area, and some interconnected dirt paths or single track, if you will. And then in these next coming slides, we'll work through a few of those. So what is a pump track? And a pump track is really a series of linked bumps, rollers, and bank corners that you can see here. And it's encapsulated, not always, but the ones that we're proposing here is encapsulated in a hard surface, whether that's asphalt or concrete, for low maintenance. And so what this does and why this is part of a bike park is it teaches riders to be able to learn how to corner their bicycle and also to create and maintain momentum. It also allows them creativity. So where some may roll 2 bumps, others may be able to jump 2 bumps, for example. And so there's infinite ways to ride it, and even though it's set and permanent, there's always new ways to ride those. The skills area is another component here. The skills area will have man-made progressive features in it, and that'll allow riders to experience common features that they would see on mountain bike trails. And typically mountain bike trails have been rated in green for easy, blue for intermediate, black for hard, and red for extremely difficult. And so we would have the same sort of rating system throughout the park and allow riders to progress through those technical differences as their skills grew. Again, so we have here shown some rock features, which is coming from a park in Minnesota. So there'll be these rock features, but there'll also be some more man-made wooden features that are made out of, treated lumber and then powder-coated steel that's anchored into the ground via concrete pillars. Dirt trails. So for this park, dirt trails will be used to connect the various features from the entrances. It will also wrap around the park to kind of serve as an entry-level single track. And so really what that'll do is invite people who have been mostly on the paved trails now be able to take their bikes off onto dirt. And so making that first initial transition into a dirt path seems less daunting than riding on Hanson Larson Memorial Park, for example. And so this is kind of a stage gate approach to learning how to work up towards something like that. The concept. So, on this slide here, you'll see the concept of the bike park that we've drafted here, and it will be further refined here through the winter months as we work through the public design process with Parks and Rec. Really, what you'll see here, and for those of you that were able to attend the tour, where is this bike park located? And it's centrally located with Hanson Larson Memorial Park to the north, Skyline Wilderness Park to the south, and it's right off of Omaha and the new lighted cross street to the, it's shown here on the left-hand side of the screen. And so our intent and the reason we picked this spot is because it's centrally located and adds to the hub of Founders Park already. With mountain bike trails both to the north and to the south in the respective parks, we feel that this is a really, really good key spot to put this park, as it will create awareness for those who are wanting to ride. It'll also draw visitors in that are potentially driving by. And then really it connects to the existing bike path system. So that's the current reason for picking this spot. And then it's just to note and to discuss maybe some of the components here on this slide. The upper portion of this design is the large pump track. The small pump track is in toward the middle, and then the skills features are toward the south. Currently, and then the dirt paths will be interworked as we finalize the details of what the components of this actually look like. Some of the things that we have considered already is parking, and there's currently parking on all four sides of this, but we would designate the parking that is at the disc golf park right now across Street to be kind of the main parking. And as we work through design, there may be some points where we'll need to, if we need to add parking to this, we could work in a few spots, 6 to 8 spots or so, as needed. So yeah, so really that's kind of the concept, and so now we have to answer the question why. So why are we asking for funding? Why are we proposing to add this park? And really bike parks creating an alternative outdoor physical activity for all ages. So kids, adults, families, you name it. And right now, we live in a day and age where everybody is kind of trapped behind a screen. There's depression levels are high, and obesity is on the rise as well. And so creating another alternative method for outdoor activity is crucial. And we see a lot of bigger cities doing this already. Currently, you know, like if you think Fort Collins, the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul area, a lot of these larger communities are putting several of these in based on population. So that's number one, active lifestyle. The second one would be to increase the Rapid City livability, and that's kind of the attraction of it, right? It's a park, it's open to all, it'll be free to access, and really it will enhance this image that Rapid City is kind of the gateway to the Black Hills, and we are an outdoor community. And then, like I said, it expands upon the current Founders Park hub. The other benefit of this would be educational programs. So we could, by having this park, we then could partner with other organizations such as, you know, the Atayapi Youth Engagement in Sports. We could partner with Rapid City PAL, which now has a bike program. And there's several others where we could, you know, work with, you know, kids and develop the skills and really educate on, you know, how to ride a bike and to learn those skills. And while they're learning skills and may be able to ride this technical feature, really what you're providing them is confidence in learning something new. And then, you know, lastly, I believe this will stimulate the local economy. There's no doubt in my mind that people will come here from Sioux Falls, from Gillette, to ride this park, and also to, you know, to ride Hanson Larson Memorial Park or Skyline, and then this will kind of tie all of those together. And if they come, then, you know, they're also going to need food, they'll have to buy gas and lodging as well. And so you see that this trend of the outdoor industry really creating a stimulus in local economies. Timeline and cost. So while we would like to be riding this park as soon as possible, something of this magnitude really needs to be designed and implemented correctly. So right now our current plans are to work through a rigorous design through the fall and winter with Parks and Rec through public input, and get engineering on board for the location of this park, and really to have all of the final design and final costing done by early spring. And then when the Omaha project is complete, we will be able to then begin construction. The cost values, we've talked through that before, presented those here as well. So really that puts me at time, and I really do appreciate the opportunity to provide this proposal and presentation, and hope that you'll consider adding this park to Rapid City. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. We'll open it up for questions. Bill Spindle, Chair recognizes.
Yes, are there any pump tracks in town now?
There is currently a small pump track that was just added at Robbinsdale Park. It fits about 3 kids on it at a time. And so, yes, it's a good point. There currently is one, and when we put this in, they were just building that. So there is one, and this one would be designed to fit 30 kids.
30 kids, okay.
Yeah, at a time.
And when you say fencing and sunscreen, what does that mean?
The fencing only as required. Right now, what we want to do, as you could see from, I'll back up, if you look at the concept, on the north side here, Omaha Street runs to the north, and they put in a new sidewalk then that comes from Cross Street to Canal. And so what we don't want is people coming from that sidewalk directly into it. So we may propose to put a fence along that side so you can keep people going in a certain direction and to avoid collisions. As far as the sunscreen, that would be more of like a sunshade type thing, where it's an awning of some sort, not a physical structure, something you can take up and take down that provides a little bit of relief from summer heat.
Can you remind the committee how many members that the Mountain Bike Association has?
Sure. Currently paid 30 members right now.
Any other questions? The chair recognizes Marta Olson Rainich.
Thank you. Lucas, I have a question about the existing dirt jump park. And why is it that you have chosen not to expand at that location on the parkland above the park that's there? And what is the value of entirely relocating?
Sure. Thanks, Marta. The current dirt jump park that is over there now is in a difficult spot due to flooding. It seems like it's been underwater for the last 3 years or so, and even before that. There is area up above there, and our current plans are to move the dirt jump section, the jumps that are dirt, up onto that upper section. So we've been, when they're done with the construction here on Omaha, that would be the plan, is to relocate those jumps up to that area. And that's another component of bike parks, but this one was more for adding a pump track, adding some skills feature, putting it, right in everybody's sight lines, right? So it's right on Omaha Street, and you create more awareness here, and then the dirt jump park would still remain, but it would just be revitalized.
Mr. Chair, follow-up?
Sure.
I have one other question then with that, Lucas. How have you guys felt about your working relationship with the park and the maintenance of the existing dirt jump park? Because I know that you would be taking on maintenance of this new facility as well.
Yeah, so current maintenance for this design facility would be quite low. We have an MOU with Parks and Rec, and they would be doing all of the major grass mowing and upkeep on this property, and we would maintain, weed trimming it as needed, and any of the dirt work there. So the intent is to spend extra money now, do a great design, and make it minimal for rework and maintenance, and any small maintenance we would take care of.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? The chair recognizes Jim Keck.
Yeah, Lucas, I can envision you get a lot of bikers there. Some are skilled, some are unskilled.
Sure.
How do you anticipate them mixing? Because I can kind of see, well, the skilled ones will kind of run the unskilled ones off.
Sure. So the way that this would be designed, you wouldn't have a green portion followed by a blue or a black portion. They would be adjacent to each other or next to each other, but they would be separate lines themselves. And as far as the pump track goes, I think that's something we all have to learn and be cognizant of is whoever's in front has the right of way, right? And so that would be something that we would encourage. And I feel with, if I jump back here again quickly, with the way that this is set up, you have to follow a certain path. And so if you are coming up upon somebody, you can pass. And this will be wide enough to allow for passing.
Okay, thank you.
Hope that answered your question. Thank you.
Other questions? The chair recognizes Christine Stevenson.
Thanks. So are there any current events that the Black Hills Mountain Bike Association holds that would move to this space, or do you have any in mind that you would start up if you do get this going?
Sure. We've I'm not sure if you're aware of the Black Hills Mountain Fest. That was originally Black Hills Fat Tire Fest, and we were involved in that event for quite some time, and then the city was starting to work on it. And then COVID hit, and then it went away, right? So, but our plans, and we've been in discussion with Black Hill, or the Parks and Rec, to revitalize that as an event for the Founders Park area, Handsome Arson, and this would use that as well. So that would be a paid event, and then our thought process too would be to use that event to fund maintenance for this. That would be a paid event. Other ones would be, as we talked about, educational programs working with, we could work with Parks and Rec, or we could work with some of the other youth programs as well.
And the Mountain Fest brings people from out of town, doesn't it? That was a big deal in my memory.
Yeah, yep.
Okay. Do you have formal support from Dunn Brothers, Juniper, and other businesses on that city street? What's that called?
Yeah, that's, yeah, good question.
Rapid Street.
Yeah, we don't have formal, like, signed approval on that at this point.
But have you spoken with any idea how they feel about it?
We've spoken some with the companies to the east of that, the bike park there, Lost Cabin, they're all in support of that. And then, yeah, to be honest, it's just been a matter of time and tracking down the right people to talk to over there.
Okay. And then, so just in terms of, this is just from my opinion, but in terms of supporting your application, you know, you mentioned Atayape, potential partnership. If that could be like a letter from Atayape saying that that would be planned, or I know the Rapid City Police Department just started a bike program. Seth Keene is involved in that.
Yep.
If they were like, we would really like this because it'd be a good space, I think that would help us make our decision.
That's a good point, and yeah, I understand that. Thank you.
Just,
I chatted with Seth Keene. I chatted with Seth Keene last night, so about it. But
have him write a letter.
Yeah. Okay.
You know.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, we have time for one more question. Anybody? Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
We're now going to move over to Rapid Creek and have the Black Hills paddlers. Hello, you can just go ahead and set up there and start when you're ready.
All right. I do have a handout for everybody, so I'll pass 2 copies of this. Hello everybody, I'm Justin Harriman, Vice President of the Black Hills Paddlers, and we're here to talk to you about our Vision Fund proposal. A little bit about the Black Hills Paddlers. We're a South Dakota nonprofit corporation that was founded in 2008. We're a community of people who love to paddle, kayaks, canoes, rafts, stand-up paddleboards. If it's on the water and it's human-powered, that's what we're into. We promote wellness, camaraderie, safety, and most importantly, fun in our community. We're really focused on education and growing the region's paddling community. We welcome people of all ages, skill levels, experience, and abilities, and we really are here about getting people in boats in a safe manner. We have over 1,100 public members. I'm here to talk to you about our in-stream engineered whitewater park in Rapid Creek, which we're obviously very excited about. So, first thing is, what is an in-stream engineered whitewater park? I'm not going to read the text to you, but I'll tell you, in summary, it's a section of a river that's been altered through very careful engineering and planning to enhance the recreational opportunity, riparian zones, fish habitat, and creating a recreational place for people to gather, host events, and enjoy nature. We do this via the strategic placement and anchoring of rocks into the stream bed, which is going to create structures for recreation. What are the benefits that this brings to our community? Really, we have got four platforms of benefits: public safety, recreation and wellness, really positive economic impact, and then a fishery improvement and beautification. And other parks that exist nationwide, we're not breaking ground here. There are a vast number of whitewater parks across the country. There's 3 in Iowa, there's 1 in Casper, Wyoming, and actually Sioux Falls has plans for a park on the Big Sioux River. So we'd definitely like to beat Sioux Falls to the punch and be the first whitewater park in South Dakota. Talking about the location of our project, we really have two locations that we're splitting the project. And when we did the on-site discussion with the members of the committee, we had originally showed you Way 4, which is that existing dangerous diversion dam on Rapid Creek over by the polo fields. With some consultation and talking to Game Fish and Parks and some other stakeholders, they've asked us to shift our plan just a tiny bit and add our second wave would actually retrofit an existing dangerous low head dam that's just behind the horse barn structure of the Pennington County, or the fairgrounds. And we'll show you a picture of that in a moment. The second second location of our project would actually be building 2 waves and possibly a third along the Founders Park, Hanson Larson Memorial Park on Rapid Creek. So I will like to hand over the presentation to my friend Mike Ray.
Hello, I'm Mike Ray. I'm a member of the Black Hills Paddlers, and I'm a longtime Black Hills resident. I love this place, and I love our community. Thanks for giving us a chance to pitch this. The number one reason we think this kayak park is incredibly important is for public safety. You saw that location at the fairgrounds. We're going to show you a video of another one a little bit later that's just upstream for that we think is even more dangerous. Those 2 places at the fairgrounds we think are going to kill someone. The Lowhead Dam, if you go over that, it recircs and it doesn't let you out in high water. The public safety aspect of this is so important that you have a letter here on your desk right now from the Pennington County Swiftwater Rescue Team. Pennington County Swiftwater Rescue Team are the trained experts who go out and rescue people in super high water. If there's a major flash flood and somebody's trapped on the top of their car in a place that nobody else can get them out, these are the people who go do it. The Pennington County Swiftwater Rescue Team wants this kayak park. They want to see these 2 Lowhead dams at the fairgrounds removed, and they also want this kayak park because it gives them a place to train. Right now, the Pennington County Swiftwater Rescue Team has to drive a long ways somewhere to find the kind of water they need to do the specialized training they need to rescue people in swiftwater situations. So this park will allow them to do that. And finally, the public safety aspect of this park is that it concentrates the recreation in a safe area of the creek. These waves are engineered to be safe, so they don't keep you, they flush you out. And the safety aspect of that is we keep that recreation in one location. We keep folks less likely to be up in Dark Canyon where they can get in lots of trouble in a kayak. Even experienced kayakers can get in trouble in Dark Canyon, and I can speak to experience on that. So keeping folks in a safe spot in the creek is going to be a really good thing for our community. Let's see, next slide, advance like this. Yeah, recreation and wellness is the next big thing that we think this park is going to bring to our community. These kind of parks draw people down to the water. About 1 in 7 people are the actually ones in the water. The people in the water kayaking or inner tubing through or swimming through. There's all kinds of people there watching and hanging out. It's a community place to gather. These projects have great benefits, and it's the reason why you have the second letter on your desk from the Hanson Larson Memorial Park. They're in big favor of this because they think this enhances the park. Those section of 3 waves right below the park, they see this as a great economic benefit too. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And again, these waves are set up in a way that they don't cause any impedance to the river. They don't cause any impediment to the floodway. They don't change the river that much itself. It's basically rocks you place strategically in the water, and they make these kind of waves that you can surf on. You can surf on them with a surfboard. You can surf on them with a kayak. A lot of people body surf on them. There's a lot of different ways, things you can inner tube through them. They're great for that kind of recreation and wellness, enhancement in our community. The fishery improvement is a big deal for us, and I've been told that this thing can play, and maybe that's not possible to play this video.
Down arrow button, it should play.
Thank you. There we go. So if you look very carefully at this video, you'll see some fish that can't get up this Lowhead Dam. You see one, there's one that just jumped, and there's going to be another one that's going to jump in the middle. Those are great big brown trout. That dam right behind the fairgrounds, and if you look very closely, you can see the School of Mines Stadium right across the road there. That dam impedes the fishery. Fish go downstream, they can't get back up. So we're working with the Game Fish and Parks, and we want to include their fisheries biologists in all of our waves to make sure that the kind of waves we're putting in are going to be better for the fishery. That fishery improvement is a really important part to us. We've also reached out to groups like the Black Hills Fly Fishers, and we're seeking consultation with them to make sure that the kind of waves that we put in are going to enhance the fishery. That's an incredibly important pillar of this whole thing. And finally, the economic benefits. These things are great economic drivers for the city. And the big part of this is it helps us recruit and retain top-tier talent to our community. I think we need to retain and keep the kind of people who can live anywhere in the world after they graduate someplace like the School of Mines. People that could live in Tokyo or London, why would they choose Rapid City? This is another amenity that we have to keep that going forward. These parks themselves also have a direct economic impact by keeping visitors in the area. So people come here now because we're a mountain bike destination. They come to ride on M Hill. They come to ride all over the hills. It's fantastic mountain biking, world class. They come here for the world class rock climbing. Now they'll throw their kayak in their pickup when they come. They'll spend an extra day or two here just playing in our play park because now we've got one like Colorado or elsewhere. And this is going to benefit that by drawing in that economic impact You can see here some of the data. There's a number in the millions for economic impact on these parks around the country. A little bit more on that economic benefit. That Golden, Colorado is an example, right next to the Colorado School of Mines, where they have a great big kayak park there. That's had a huge return on investment for their park. We also think this is great for recruiting students to places like like South Dakota School of Mines and Technology and Black Hills State University. Black Hills State University has a whole outdoor program where they actually teach whitewater kayaking, and they're keen on using this facility in Rapid City to help teach there at Black Hills State too, so it's great for them. I'm going to turn it back over to Justin for the rest of the presentation.
Thanks, Mike. So talking about the project details, our ask is for $325,000. We're splitting into three buckets. The first will be our design and engineering, which is approximately $75,000. Second will be $150,000 for location 1, that'd be the fairgrounds location, and location 2, $125,000. That's the waves adjacent to Hanson-Larson Memorial Park. Really, the project has 3 phases: project management, design, engineering, and then construction. So from a project management and design standpoint, we partnered with a local design firm, TerraSite Design. We've got representatives from there here today. They will do the design and project management to keep that investment within our community, and they're going to actually provide us a discounted rate and a bridge loan to help us get the project moving forward. They actually built a rendered diagram for us, a rough concept of what that initial wave over by the fairgrounds would look like. That's that ledger-sized paper that you have in your hands. From an engineering perspective, TerraSite will work with one of the 3 firms in the United States that specialize in these parks and act as the liaison. So the engineering will be done by subject matter experts that have done many of these parks. Really, the project also creates a unique opportunity for SD Mines students to actually participate in that, and it could be a senior design project. Engineering design will absolutely be 500-year flood safe. It's going to take into account the history that we have from the 72 flood and also have zero impact to the flood, safety, and greenway. From a construction standpoint, construction will be done by a local firm. Basically, they need earth-moving equipment and the ability and expertise to stack some rocks. Those well-engineered structures are very easy, relatively easy to construct. We've provided you a little visual here of what those waves look like. From a timeline standpoint, once project is approval, we'll initiate the engineering design standpoint. We'll have the permitting process. There are 4 or 5 agencies involved from a permitting standpoint. Set the project to bid, and then start constructing. Obviously, construction needs to happen during low water time, so this time of year is ideal. From a community support standpoint, we've spent a lot of time talking to and integrating with organizations within the project. You see a couple of agencies that have provided us letters of support, and up here on the board are other agencies and outside stakeholders that we've been talking to and will have letters of support and involvement in our project. Thanks for your time. We very much appreciate your investment in our community. Now we have time for questions.
Thank you very much. Can I just clarify, when we visited the creek out by the fairgrounds,
Yes.
that diversion dam, now you're saying you would not remove that?
No, we would absolutely still remove that. Kevin, the plan is to remove that along with this other low-head dam as well. Game Fish and Parks had asked us to remove both of those structures and remediate the safety and fish transport issues of both of those structures.
So is there any reason for those diversion dams? I mean, is that holding back water for irrigation, or?
They originally were built for irrigation diversion. As far as we can tell, neither of those have active irrigation activity, and there's no water rights that are associated with either of those dams right now. They're essentially legacy structures that need to be removed from the stream.
We don't have a letter of support from Ron Jeffries at the fairgrounds, but I spoke with him on the phone, and he's in favor of this. You could do a kayak rodeo. They're all over the country, right behind the fairgrounds office. So this is not something that would impede the fairgrounds in any way.
Okay, great. So the committee members have any other questions? Chair recognizes Bill Keck. Bill Spindle, sorry.
So the price doesn't change even though you're taking out 2 dams now?
No, we're fairly confident that we can do the project within the budget that we had allocated. We also are hoping to received some in-kind funding to add an additional third or fourth wave along Hanson Larson, and that's something that we're actively pursuing. We don't have firm commitments on any of those dollars, but we will continue to fundraise. And I will tell you that getting the Vision Fund Committee approval is a really important step to us to getting some additional private funding. We have some tentative commitments, but nothing that I can state today. But a lot of people are really excited about this, and so that's why we're hoping to be able to do additional waves that are privately funded.
The chair recognizes Kevin Crosby.
So the additional dam that you would remove, you're adding a wave there, or you're not adding a wave there?
We're adding a wave there.
So there's 5 waves now.
Right now, we have budgeted for 4 waves, as we had previously shown you. We would just eliminate wave 5 at Hanson, so we'd only put 2 waves at Hanson Larson.
Okay.
If we get additional private funds, or we're able to raise those additional funds, then we would put in a 5th wave outside the scope of our proposal. So we essentially shifted the location of a wave to remediate that other dam.
Okay. And so follow-up questions on that. The waves at Hanson Larson area, that area is great for access and for recreation, and then the 2 waves at the fairground would also be good for that, but the primary function of those 2 is remediating safety concerns.
That is correct. The primary at the fairgrounds is remediating the safety concerns, and then they provide a great recreational opportunity and in conjunction with School of Mines. And Hanson Larson is a great recreational opportunity in conjunction with the users on the mountain bike trails and the Founders Park location.
So if you were only able to have 2 waves instead of 4, 2 in one location or 2 in the other location, obviously safety is a concern, but just saying, perhaps it could be remediated in some other way that the issue's there. Could you do 2, or is?
Absolutely could do 2. The engineering costs, the engineering and permitting costs are the same, regardless of how many waves we do. There's essentially a fixed cost of design and engineering that does need to be spent. There's a minor incremental cost to engineer additional waves. So if we were only to do 2, we'd still be probably around $65,000 for the design and engineering, and then we would pick one of the 2 locations.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions? The chair recognizes Christine.
Thank you. So I love this project. I find it really interesting that this is a private nonprofit club being tasked with removing safety hazards in public space. Like, who's responsible for these?
Technically, the city of Rapid City does have liability with those structures.
Okay.
We love teaching people to paddle. That's a really unique section of the creek. It's not safe right now, so ameliorating the safety hazard expands our recreational opportunities, and during low water, it's one of the best sections of the creek that we could teach people on. So, it's August, September when we have low water, that's probably the only section of the creek that's currently really paddleable, but it's not paddleable right now because of those safety hazards. So it's a cool opportunity for us to open up some additional recreational time.
And it sounds like it's a good opportunity for the School of Mines. I know you have a connection to the School of Mines. Like, do they have a club paddling group? Could they assist with these 2 projects, the 2 dams?
Not at this time, and we haven't asked for any assistance from the School of Mines at this time. I assume that a student club, like a surfing club, could start up at some point in time. I do some of the media for the school, so that'd be a fantastic media opportunity to be able to put surfers on our webpage, right? But other than that, I can't speak to further.
Okay. And then I did have a question for you're the designer of You Design? Oh, You Design?
We will be like a local consultant, yes.
Oh, okay. We were just in Ridgway, Colorado, and my husband was fishing, and he was like, oh my gosh, this is what needs to happen to Rapid Creek. Was that a fishing project that he was at in that river, or was that a kayaking project? Because it looked like rocks kind of built up at
I guess I'm not familiar with that.
incrementally.
I believe the Ridgeway, Colorado structures are a whitewater park that have been designed with fishing habitat in mind, which is very similar to what we want to do.
Okay, yeah, he was really excited about it, but I was like, it kind of looks like what they're talking about.
Some of the very first whitewater parks that were put in the 80s and 90s were not engineered with fish habitat in mind. We've learned a lot since then, and now it's very easy to make some minor design modifications where the parks actually radically improve fish habitat because you're creating deep pools that the fish can easily ingress and egress from, which creates a concentration of food sources and colder water. So during the hot months, it gives place for really big trout to hang out. Fly fishermen love whitewater parks because they go fish early in the morning before the boaters get out of bed, and then the boaters go use it in the day, and then at the end of the day, as it gets towards dark, most of the boaters are off the water and enjoying after boating refreshments, and then the fly fishing picks up later in the day as well. So it's a great dual use opportunity when the structures are engineered appropriately, which is a critical component of our project.
Thank you.
Okay. Chair recognizes Jim Keck.
Justin, I just have a question.
Yes,
Your
sir.
Black Hills Paddlers Group, how many members do you have?
So we are a loosely organized group. We used to have actual written membership, and we had about 350 members. Unfortunately, it's hard to get paddlers to really organize. So we have 1,184 members on our Facebook group, and about 750 of them are active. So we have a pretty large swath, and we have members from all over the country. We have a lot of folks that come visit the hills. They join our Facebook group, and we meet up and go paddling with them. And
How many local then?
it's around 900 from just some demographic surveys.
Active?
Absolutely, yeah. These are people that actively paddle. We helped write a paddler's guide to the Black Hills. My dear friend Kelly Lane, who's a retired teacher from Douglas School District, and I and Mike and a few others wrote a paddling guide. And all the profits from that will go to our contribution to this project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You mentioned 5 agencies have to approve the permits, and it's just imagining how successful are projects at getting access to the creek, and the Army Corps of Engineers, and they're going to let you go in and put boulders in the creek?
So that is number one. That's why we'll hire some experts who are engineering firms who have done this before. They understand the administrative hurdles and the permitting process very well. They've done it many times, and they're very successful in doing that. Recreational Engineering and Planning, who did our feasibility study in 2008, has a 100% success rate in all their permitting. So it's a matter of making sure that we're filling out the appropriate forms and know how to navigate that administrative burden, which is why we're working with a qualified firm.
Thank you. Time for one more question. The chair recognizes Kim Morshing.
Can you, I know that you stated how dangerous those, the down by the fairgrounds is. Does the city also agree with that level of danger?
I believe that they do. We've submitted letters to them about the issue, and I know the Swiftwater Rescue Team, it understands the implications, which is why you have the letter in your hand from them. I think that they're wanting to resolve the issue, but it's been a financial challenge, and I'm not 100% sure what the situation is there.
Okay, thank you. We're going to have to move on, but thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
We're going to move on to the Central States Fair.
Alrighty, good afternoon. My name is John Kaiser, and I am with the Central States Fair. First off, I just want to thank you guys as a committee for allowing us to be here and present for this excellent opportunity, and also for volunteering and volunteering your time and services to this. We've always thought it's a really great program here. A little bit about us. Again, we are the Central States Fair. We are a 501c5 nonprofit. We are a member-driven organization tasked with managing the Pennington County Fairgrounds facilities. We are overseen, from that membership, board of directors are elected. I have a few of them behind me here in great support. We have a staff of 7 office and about 6 maintenance guys. And then we also use the Department of Correction minimum unit services as well. What we do, our mission statement is pretty simple. We showcase agriculture, tourism in our community. We produce 2 major shows a year here locally, the Black Hills Stock Show and Rodeo in January and February, and then the Central States Fair in August. The rest of the time we act as rental facilities where we host about 260 different rental activities per year, spanning over 50 weekends. We also support other community organizations and groups such as the South Dakota National Guard, Rapid City Police Department, Performing Arts Center, Feeding South Dakota, and various other nonprofits and Pennington County departments in the discounted rentals, tables and chairs, kind of the stuff that you just really don't think about until you need it. But we've always been very active with other nonprofits in our community. The project we're looking today is called the West Campus Remodel. We're asking for $1 million, and with that $1 million, we'll span that over 6 different buildings, and I'll start going through them one by one. The first is the Soule building. The Soule building was built in the late 1950s. It's roughly 12,000 square feet, and it was named after Judge William Soule, who used to run the Pennington County Poor Farm back in the day. Current uses right now is we hold the Western Junior Livestock Show there, which is one of the largest youth livestock shows in the Midwest. 2 really premier horse sales, vendor shows. The state FFA convention was there this year. Rapid City Police Department canine training uses it as well as weddings. There you can kind of see the budget and what we're hoping to accomplish with it. HVAC is obviously a big issue in there, considering that we have very little insulation. Finishing the inside, redoing the metal on the outside just to kind of clean it up. Beautification is obviously a big part of this project. A lot of these buildings, of course, are very old. Haven't seen much love in the past few years, but they've definitely been used. There's kind of a look at what we're hoping to accomplish with that. Some of the goals with getting this building brought up to par, we do receive quite a bit of interest during the colder months from youth sports in our area, soccer, baseball in particular, looking for a space to be able to continue to practice throughout the cold months. They do get good support from the monument, but the monument's obviously rocking and rolling pretty well. So they're always looking for a home, because honestly the one event that comes in and displaces them for a while is us with the stock show. So that's one of the goals that we would hope to do, as well as attract the youth livestock shows in our region to come out and put on more shows in this area, as well as bringing the FFA convention back on a biannual basis. The next project consists of 3 different livestock barns. We call them the beef barn, the packing barn, and the orange barn. The beef barn was donated by Walden Wood of Oliver Tractors back in the mid-1970s after the flood. He owned the tractor implement store where the current South Dakota School Mines football field sits. And after the flood, the building was of no good to him, so he graciously donated it to the fairgrounds. The packing barn was actually new and was donated by the Rushmore Packing Company around the same time. And the orange barn was actually built by the county fairgrounds around the same time as well. Again, you're seeing a lot of similar uses there. On the tour, it would have been the one where you walked by and walked through, and the young lady told us about her family from Armour and 4 families that had showed up for Western Junior Livestock. So a lot of need there. Beautification, I'll be the first to admit, that is not the prettiest look of buildings that we have, but they're definitely being utilized, and we think that we can utilize them more with the success of this project. There's the orange barn for obvious reasons. There's the budget breakdown of what we have for that. Steel siding obviously coming in as a large portion of that. Being able to insulate it, typically we don't need to heat these, because when you get about 100-headed animal in there, they'll actually bring the temperature up to about 65 degrees with insulation, proper insulation. Again, beautification, and the end game being, again, bringing these events back, these youth livestock events, getting them back into our area. Economic impact is the driving force behind this. There's kind of an idea of what we think they could look like. The Fine Arts Building, that was built in the early 1970s. That was built after the flood. You'll kind of see a theme here with that. That is where the Alfalfa Palace used to sit. After the flood, the bottom portion of the Alfalfa Palace was no longer usable, but luckily Lindell Peterson made a big push to save the dome part of it, which is now the Horticulture Building down at the fairgrounds, which sits just to the east of this building. In there, we've currently been doing Pennington County Court jury selection. The American Association University of Women have their book sale. It's actually this weekend, so go down there and support a good cause. Rapid City Police Department training is in there. Black Hills Rapids Soccer Wreath Sale. Volunteer of America has their Soup for a Cause next Thursday, so be sure to stop down for that as well. We also open it up for Toys for Tots, open class exhibits during the fair, State FFA convention, weddings, and auctions. There's kind of a breakdown of what we're looking to do in there. Bathrooms obviously being a big one. Those that walked through it kind of saw the lack thereof. We only have about 1 headers for each man and women, so we're hoping to add on to that just to be able to handle the increasing amount of traffic that it's seeing these days. Also, Asphalt Repair, you can see in the picture there that we have some much needed attention there right along Lacrosse Street that could use a little love. Again, you can kind of see the imagery of what we're looking for there. Kind of consistency in the design of the fairgrounds is really something that we're starting to push for. And last but definitely not least is the Creative Arts Building, built around the same time as the Fine Arts back in the mid-70s. It's 4,200 square feet-ish. Current use right now, we have the Garden Club in there right now, getting all their Christmas wreaths ready to rock and roll. State FFA, of course, was in there. We have open class exhibits in there during the Central States Fair. The German Club uses it for meetings, and we also have graduation parties and auctions as well. And there's a budget breakdown in there as well. Just kind of shows just redoing the restrooms a little bit, updoing the ceiling and the lighting, and cleaning up the exterior. The big question is why? Well, there at the top you'll see South Dakota's 2 biggest industries, agriculture and tourism. We'd like to think down at the fairgrounds that we combine those 2 things into agritourism. The Black Hills Stock Show has an estimated $22 million impact per year. And in a 2009 economic impact study, we observed 33 events done by Dr. Madden out of Wyoming, and he concluded that between those events, we bring in about $9.2 million per year. That was done in 2018 with 33 events. This year in 2021, we did 85 plus events that spanned over 50 weekends. So, core values. I know that the comprehensive plan done by Rapid City is very important, and we wanted to hit on the 7 core values that we contribute to. A balanced pattern of growth. In the past 5 years, Central States Fair and its partners have made significant investments back in the buildings and grounds, and is seeing huge growth. Total events on grounds has jumped 41% in the past 3 years, and we believe the approval and the implementation of this proposal, we can contribute to drive that growth forward. A vibrant and livable community. With the growth mentioned before comes wear and tear on the facilities, and I'll be the first to admit again that we do not have the prettiest buildings that we're addressing here, but the project addresses infrastructure needs and the beautification of buildings that honestly have a lot of history to them as well. A safe, healthy, inclusive, and skilled community. In addition to ensuring the safety of our community, we envision a community that supports our health and well-being, one that provides access to healthcare services, enables active and healthy lifestyles, provides educational opportunities for our youth and workforce to develop the skills needed to succeed. Access to healthcare. We were acted as a host site for COVID testing, which you'll see a letter in there from the Rapid City and Pennington County Emergency Services. We enabling active and healthy lifestyles. Again, with the success of this, we'll be able to host more youth stuff during the wintertime. I have 3 kids, 3 boys, all in the age of 6. You know, I'd love for them to have a place to continue to play baseball in the wintertime, to play soccer, to continue to be active, especially when we have winters like we did a couple years ago. Providing educational opportunities. Every youth livestock show that comes through the fairgrounds or through this community is an educational experience to the public. We would be equipped to offer year-round opportunities for that. As well as a big goal of mine, of course, is actually getting the FFA state convention back on a biennial basis. For those that don't know, the event had taken place 97 years consecutively since its conception in Brookings, and last year they came to us in a moment of need, and they had such a good experience that they are working towards coming back, and they'd like to see hopefully some advances in that. But that's 1,200 kids, you know, over 4 days and their families. Workforce development. The growth that will certainly come with this project will continue to allow Central States Fair to employ the Department of Correction workers and continue to instill skills and work ethics upon their release will have a positive impact on our community. Efficient transportation and infrastructure systems. Being located right along the bike path and less than 2 miles from downtown Rapid City, we have always made a concerted effort to maintain the areas around the fairgrounds, including the roads and the bike path. An example is the clearing of the trees along the bike path that you may have noticed down there recently on the way down. Economic stability and growth. And again, according to the economic impact study done in 2019, we bring an estimated 9.5 in direct economic spending, and that was done 2 years ago, where we've seen significant growth since then. Outstanding recreational and cultural opportunities. During the Central States Fair, the Fine Arts and Creative Arts building that you saw proposed host our open class exhibits. They're done by folks in our community of all ages. They range from photography, china painting, leatherwork, literary, horticulture, sewing, culinary, wood carving, and much more. And the Soule, of course, showcases local talent such as dance groups, singers, and even magicians. I appreciate your time. That's really all I have for you. Questions?
Thank you very much. Questions? The chair recognizes Kevin Crosby.
So some of these buildings that you're looking at are 50 years old already. I understand there's some benefits of continuing to use those existing buildings instead of building new, but what are your expectations if you do these projects for the lifespan of those existing buildings?
That's a great question. They have land that lasted 50 years. You know, I always plan around like a 30-year return on what I see on this. The return on investment is almost immediate, and the reason I can say that is because in 2016 we proposed a project here. We were awarded, we implemented, and we went from 40 rentable weekends on the east side of the campus, which I call the event center and the horse parking, to 50 weekends out of the year. The other portion that you'll see the design is this. The one building that's next to this is called the Bridger Steel, and that's where we got the design concepts for the rest of these buildings to keep a uniform look. Since we updated that one in-house 2 years ago, we've gone from 5 rental weekends to 25 in the past 2 years. Lifespan-wise, you know, I trust the quality of work that hopefully we're going to be hiring. With them being county facilities, we have a certain level of expectations and guidelines that we have to follow with the construction process. So we expect, you know, a good long return on the project itself. Is that kind of what you were wondering?
Yeah, and I have a second question as well. We discussed this a little bit before, but for the benefit of everyone, some of these are county facilities, so why should the city be funding these if they're county facilities?
Absolutely. As I mentioned before, when you look at like the Black Hills Stock Show, that's got a $22 million direct economic impact to the city. A large portion of that obviously is going to come in the form of sales tax, which the county does not get to benefit from. County benefits mainly from property taxes and things like that. You know, so basically what this does is this benefits the city, this benefits business owners, this benefits the Vision Fund. You know, half-cent tax is what promotes this fund itself, which comes from sales tax, which comes from out-of-towners, which comes from our line of work, comes from agritourism.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions? Chair recognizes Christine Stephenson.
Just a quick one. That $22 million, is that every year?
Every year, ma'am.
And that compared to like every other event, the total was like $9 million for everything else that goes on there?
So that number that you see, the $9.5 million, that excludes the Black Hills Stock Show and the Central States Fair. That is direct economic impact that is brought in by other promoters, not us.
Okay.
That's just us acting as a host site.
$22 million.
$22 million, ma'am.
Thank you.
Second largest event in South Dakota, outside of Sturgis. And I did call the Department of Revenue because I was asking about, I can always find numbers on the sales tax revenue that we benefit from Sturgis, but I was unable to find one for the stock show. So I called them and they said they purposely tracked the one for the rally. So hopefully in 2022 I'll be able to give you one from what the stock show does, because I did ask them to track it just for this reason, I guess. So.
The chair recognizes Jim Keck.
Yeah, John, if you weren't able to get full funding, did you prioritize these projects in the way you'd want to?
We do. We actually have an outstanding building and grounds committee headed up by Mr. Mochisera back here, actually. And we're currently working on a Gantt chart right now that spans over the next 10 years as far as our master plan and what projects we're prioritizing. And we do have that done, and I'd be happy to send it to you. Honestly, at this point, we would probably start moving towards the Soule and the livestock barns first. I mean, those youth livestock shows, you know, youth traveling, anything, youth traveling sports, youth traveling livestock, that's where economic impact is, that's where this country's going, and those would be our number one priority for sure.
Okay, thanks.
You bet.
Other questions? Chair recognizes Al Rodriguez.
Thank you. On the ROI, which buildings you think will bring in more for the money you put in there? Is there any specific?
You know, it's hard to say because when you look at something like what we're trying to attract, you know, in the agritourism, and I know I'm going to beat that word in your head, but the state FFA convention, for example, they came in and they rented the fairgrounds. They took the event center, every building that we had. Most of these youth livestock shows, when they're coming, they have the area where they get all the animals ready. They have the place where they show the animals. Then they have a place where they'll do the dinner at night. Then they'll have a place that, so I mean, really what we're trying to attract, all of them. I anticipate all of them, you know, having an equal amount of impact to them. And that's kind of the idea is, you know, you make the uniformity, you make them all attractive so that when these events come in, that they need a bunch of different spaces, they can have them, you know. And one that we're actually having in 2022 that just kind of continues that drive of these large events coming in, especially coming out of COVID, where people have been locked up for so long. So now these conventions and these shows are starting to come out, and the numbers are astronomical. So in June of 2022, the Central States Fairgrounds is actually hosting the National Speleological Society, which are cavers, spelunkers. And they're taking over the entire fairgrounds. They haven't had a live convention in 2 years, and they're showing up with 2,500 people. You know, so I really see all of the buildings and all their completions having an equal impact on the overall scope.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from the committee? Okay, we want to thank you very much for your presentation.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time.
So next, we have the Hisapa OTP, also known as the Indian Boarding Lands Project.
Have a presentation already up, or do we have to? Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Valeria Big Eagle. I am one of the volunteer members for the Rapid City Native American Community Center, also known as Hisapa OTP, and our Community Development Corporation Plan. So this is part of a broader project. If you know about the Rapid City Indian Boarding School Lands Project, we have been, researching these lands over these 1,200 original acres of the Rapid City Indian Boarding School lands. And part of this was that we found that there were 3 parcels that were inconsistent with the Act of 1948. And in part of that, Needy Indians were actually one of the entities that had a chance to get some of those lands. And as you can see, that's a picture there of children of Rapid City Indian Boarding School, and we want to acknowledge that a lot of this work is to remember the children, and all of this work started because we were looking for the children among that 1,200 acres. And so part of this project and with Rapid City Indian Boarding School lands is that we met with city council members last November, and what we called the inconvenient truth, which actually has been part of several community presentations over the past almost 10 years. And in part of that, we did present them with our findings in this land investigation. And the city council members said, to pass this resolution and that will look for a negotiation or something that will resolve these 3 outstanding deeds that will benefit the Native community, as the Native community did not receive any of that land of those original 1,200 acres of the Rapid City Indian Boarding School lands. And so what we did is we reached out to the community and we asked them, what would you like to see in the community of Rapid City for the Native community? And in part of that, in 2019, we did a community outreach event and we had an online survey. And as you can see, the number one project that was selected that the community wanted was an Indian community center. As you may know or may not know, in several urban communities such as Seattle, Denver, Phoenix, in Minneapolis, they have large Native populations, and they have what they call urban Indian centers to serve the Native community. And so that's when we started moving forward with
Hesapa OTP and really getting the ball rolling with this community center, which is very much needed in Rapid City. As you may know, on any given day, around a quarter of the population can be Native. With Lakota Nation Invitational coming up in December, you'll see a large presence of Native people from all over the state, amongst other states as well, come in. They bring a large revenue to this state. But we know that we need to do something, or to this community, but we know we need to do something for our Native community, as they do not have a place that they can gather and to call their own. This place would be a healing place, a place to reconnect with Lakota identity. As you may know, you are on Lakota land. To reconnect with Lakota identity so that our communities can heal. As part of those residential boarding schools, we know that a lot of our people are still hurting today because of that. And we want this place to be a central hub of services that we can provide to our Native people, but also as a safe space to connect our Native and non-Native relatives to heal as a community and as a whole. The overall structure of the community center is that there will be board members that will align with the Community Development Corporation. And with that Community Development Corporation, that is the sustainability of the Indigenous Community Center, which will be apartment complexes, which we know is very much needed. And what we need to say is that it is for profit, the Community Development Corporation. As we know, just in our research, looking at other urban Indian centers, that there needs to be a sustainability part of this. And when we came together, we recognized that we need board members on both, because we need to be congruent in our actions, and we need to work together as a team, being mindful that we're serving the whole community. And I just like to show some of these community outreach. And in our community outreach, like I said, we had that visioning survey. One of the things that we consider and what we always remember is that our children are sacred. And so we make sure that we include their voices when it comes to any decisions that are made. And when we reached out to our community and reached out to the youth, as you can see, they think their Lakota culture and language is really important. Our Native students are wanting that. And this community center would be able to be that place where they can continue to explore their identity in that way. They also said that they want food and snacks. They want a safe space to be children. A lot of our children, and I hear it because I'm the president of Title VI Indian Ed, but a lot of our children feel like they don't have a safe space to go. And I know that it hurts them, and it only hurts our whole community if you think about the future of all of us. And so they want part-time jobs. They want to thrive too. They want a place where they have access to Wi-Fi. Some of our families, we know they live in poverty and don't have access to these resources. And so this community center would also serve as that space for our children. Some of the programming and services that our community wanted when we did the community outreach and the surveys was that wellness services were so important. For the youth, a small gymnasium, a fitness center, behavioral health, of course. Recovery meetings, you can go on and on. Culture services, journey services, a safe space where we can send off our loved ones the way that we want to and the way that we do traditionally. We don't really have a place like that here in Rapid City. And several of our community members have to go back to the reservation and can be several hours. And so how inconvenient for them to live in Rapid City and not have a place. Ceremony rooms, language, can go on. Nutrition, connecting to our indigenous diets and nutrition, having a commercial kitchen where families and relatives can get together and cook together, laugh together, those types of things. And human services, one of the things that we hold really true and are one of our high values is that we are very respectful of our elders, and we know that we want to serve our elders in this space too. Our elders and our youth are very important. And in this space, we also know that we need to provide daycare. We need employment partnerships. Could go on and on. I know you have the proposal as well, and I only have 10 minutes. Some site locations, whenever we're meeting with the community and with the mayor's working group and all these other things about site locations, we know that we need to look at downtown or north or, somewhere accessible to the Native community. There's some site locations on this map. One of the places that has stood out to our relatives is Mother Butler. Mother Butler has served as a community center previously to our Native community, and to reclaim that space has what our elders have been asking for, but that's one of those stars that you see up there. So this is just an example because there's no location right now because we're in negotiations with the city. The site option, we're looking here at College Park. As you can see, the community center and parking and, apartment complex right there, and that's what it could potentially look like. But of course, it all goes down to it's easily accessible. It's down by North Middle School, and General Beadle Elementary is right there. We know that the teen center, where the teens do go right now, it's right down the street as well. And that also holds true for Mother Butler. Mother Butler is actually on the other side of North Middle School and right next door to Oglala Lakota College. And how convenient it would be for our youth and students to access the community center and the potential, apartment complexes and what we would see and imagine for our community. In site option C, so the option C is that we would look at, instead of Mother Butler and College Park, we're open to, other sites that would benefit the community and that would align with being easily accessible or highly visible. We know our relatives need access to this space because it would be hard for just imagine our houseless relatives to be able to access if it's too far away. So that's why you see a lot of those dots and what it could look like in those potential locations for the community center. So the projection timeline is that a feasibility study would happen, and it's currently taking place, a land resolution with the city, schematic design, of course, and we do have an architectural designer that is a part of our team. We have hundreds of volunteers that are actually part of this project as a whole. Capital campaign, design development, construction drawings, and essentially a construction of the community center. These are projected costs. Of course, you have that in the proposal. The community center would take around an estimated $15 million to construct, and the first apartment complex is around $3 million. And those are just some sayings about the impact from natives and non-natives alike. They think that this would benefit the community as a whole. Just imagine us all being able to heal together and thrive together. Thank you. And I'm open to any questions at this time.
I'm going to go ahead and start with a couple questions. One is, who's the owner of the Mother Butler Center?
The Catholic Church.
Catholic Church, okay. And then you said you're talking with the city. What is the status of that, the progress, or where are we at that?
Is this my, oh hi. My name is LaFawn Janice, and I'm also a volunteer on this project. So we are still in negotiations with the city on the resolution, which we will address next month. And I would just like to mention real quick that if you took the negotiations out of this thought process of this Vision Fund application, this is just a really good thing to do for the Indigenous community because it helps us have a presence and not only with our neighbors, but a presence with every single person in this city. So something I'd like you to think about whenever you're looking at this application is that negotiations are not with that resolution. It's just a really great project.
It is.
Okay, questions from the committee? The chair recognizes Jim Keck.
Yes, how big would the community center be? You talk about serving the elderly and the kids and daycare and education, and how big would it be?
We're looking at about 40,000 square feet, and it would be multi-level. So it'd depend on that land parcel, what it looks like, of the construction of it, but 40,000 square feet.
And then there'd be outside area too. Plenty of that is what you want.
Yes, a garden, you know, a place where, a playground. Just imagine those types of things. If you look at other urban Indian centers, they have those types of opportunities.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Chair recognizes Marta.
Thank you. I have a question, and forgive me if it's in the proposal and I didn't read it carefully enough. Forgive me if it's in the proposal and I didn't read carefully, but with your community center, I know you want it to reflect tribal values and, you know, I know hierarchically the way things are organized in our current public organizations do not reflect really tribal values. So I'm wondering, how do you anticipate setting up sort of the governance of the community center? You know, will there be a managing group for, say, an educational component and a separate managing group for, say, a historical, you know, cultural component? I'm just curious if you have some sort of vision for how that works.
That would be part of the strategic planning once this becomes a reality, right? But what's important is as you do recognize, so thank you, Marta, for recognizing that whenever we think about governance and how we work, we really work with our elders and our youth. We listen to them and our community members. They're always part of the decision-making process, and of course one of the things we talked about is having a planning committee, of course, oversee construction, and then going through a strategic planning process, which will, you know, narrow down what programming is most important to the community, what is needed, because we do recognize that we cannot offer all of those things, right? But we can narrow down the scope of what we can offer and what our community needs. And we need to make sure that we're representative of the community and their voices.
Mr. Chair, follow-up?
Sure.
Thank you. Are you concerned at all about one of the things when we talk about, you know, who we fund and what programs we fund, they like to set timelines and deadlines. Are you concerned that those kind of planning and discussions and logistics would be difficult to fit into you know, kind of the 5-year or 3-year or 2-year plan that they might ask you to align with?
That's actually in our plan. We have a 3, 5, 10-year plan as part of the whole development process.
And I would like to say, I think we are so thankful and honored that we have so many educated and experts in the field that serve as volunteers as part of this project. So there's hundreds of us.
Okay, so you feel like you have all of that?
Yep.
Okay, that's just a concern that
no, of course,
you know, people seem to
of course.
bring
So
up.
thank you.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Beth Keeney.
Thanks. Can you talk a little bit more about how you vision this being funded or continually being supported financially if you get it funded?
Sure.
So the community development portion of it will be a nonprofit corporation in which we have a 5-year plan to build apartment complexes. And as every single person in this room knows, we have a housing shortage. So that helps fulfill the housing shortage already in Rapid City, because we are going to have this immense growth, right? It's already happening. So that will, it's in the plan in which, you know, we'll spend more time with you in depth on what that looks like for the sustainability piece, but that will fund and help sustain the community or the community center.
And it's for profit. Yeah. So, and another piece too, like we said, that was an important piece because we did not want to depend on grants. You know, we know grants give out, and we know we don't want the city to be responsible. such as other projects in the community. So that was a major piece that we made sure we needed to think about sustainability and how that would look. But of course, grants are important in the beginning, but that's not going to be what solely funds the whole project, the community center as a whole. Oh, yes, and yeah, Hesapo Atipi is already a 501c3.
Okay, so would that be the entity that owned the community center?
Yes.
Any other questions? Chair recognizes Christine Stephenson.
Thank you. Thanks for the presentation. And I just wanted, because this is a public hearing, I wanted to say that I think there are a lot of questions that we have logistically, so thank you for agreeing to meet with us next week so that we can learn more. What I hear primarily from the public when I talk to people about these projects is what Beth brought up, ongoing funding. I think everybody's a little haunted by the Journey Museum. Not that, I mean, the Journey Museum is doing well. It's in an okay place right now, but that was a Vision Fund project that has since needed more city funds. And so we might speak more to that next week when we meet, but my question is, have other urban Indian centers or indigenous community centers followed this same model? Are you following another with the housing for-profit corporation?
Certainly. I think that was one of the Chief Seattle Club was one of those, and others, though, there were others. Their city was very much bought in and invested into the Native community, and they thought it was a great investment, so kind of like how the Journey Museum is. But that's why, we understand we don't want to be one of those, but sustainability, that was one of the forefronts, and one of the long conversations that we've had with our volunteers was making sure we understood and that we do not need to depend on anyone but ourselves. That's one of the things that's really important to us. Do you have anything to add, LaFawn?
So I know it was 5 years ago that the Vision Committee and the City Council awarded $2 million for the RAI Community Center out on St. Patrick. And I've been to that facility. It's beautiful, but I think it's probably got a waiting list to get in, right? It's very popular. It's busy all the time. Would you be a complement to that, or?
That's a preschool. So that's a school.
Okay.
And we do have board members here in RAI. But so that's a school. The community center would serve several different entities in that. We've had a lot of different, like I can think of financial literacy. They're wanting to have a space, like an office there at the community center so that they can provide financial literacy to our community members. Classrooms to teach the language. We talked about, places where our elders can, get together and sew, those types of things. A place where, a gymnasium where the youth can play basketball, can play softball, can play volleyball, can be inherently Lakota, Dakota, Nakota, be who they are. That's one of the things that always, I keep going back to our elders and youth because that's what drives us. Those are a major part of our values. And so, yes, very important.
Other questions from the committee? Chair recognizes Jim Keck.
Yeah, thanks again for presenting.
Sure.
But have you looked into any other sources for funding for the community center?
Of course.
Are there any others available besides the
I'm
city
sure
Vision
there
Fund?
is, but we're hoping the Vision Fund the city would be interested in investing in the Native community, as we have seen that.
So that's
we
your
have been
first
left out.
priority.
Yes,
And
this
if
is
you
our
get-
first route, or not our first route, but our major route.
And then if you had partial funding, then you could go to maybe some other sources to get some support there.
Of course.
This project has been wanted by, again, our elders for decades. I won't say 1, 2, or 3 decades.
70 years.
So it's that piece of what has the city invested in these last 8 decades versus what they're willing to invest in now in 2021.
Okay, thank you.
I think we have time for one more question. Anybody? Okay. And so part of the request was to ask for operating funds to get you through the first 2 or 3 years. And the Vision fund has restrictions on operating funds. So would you have another source, or would you be dependent on also getting the CDC and the apartments built?
We would find funding.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday, 4:30. Opila Tanka. Thank you.
So that concludes the first public hearing for the Vision Fund Committee. We will have another public hearing this evening at 6 p.m. Thank you very much for coming.